Call you out. I just put you on the spot.
Thank you.
I had the pleasure to meet Alexia and be part of her committee this year. And there's something that, it was a wonderful experience to be able to work with Alexia, specifically because we have a shared heritage together and a shared background and certain commonalities that we understand each other in a different way. And my own family's from Panama, and so is hers. And so there was something that was really important with working with her, especially it being my first year as a professor here. And so I'm so grateful to actually introduce Alexia with her work. It's both, powerful in its content, using ceramics, print, fiber, connecting to a lot of different traditions from Puerto Rico as well as from Panama. And I think, for her, she has a deep well of research within her practice. She is very much a researcher as well as a visual artist. And so I'm really grateful to share her work with you tonight, and I'm looking forward to Alexia coming.
You just put it back. You're good. Thank you.
So it's the puffball fell off. Okay. Hi, I'm Alexia Benavent Rivera, and this is Random Republic. Before we get started, I wanted to say a brief thank you. I have the greatest gratitude to my committee, my professors, and my fellow MFAs for all of the discussions and feedback that led me here. And the biggest thank you to my husband for all of the late night trips to the studio to feed me. I was born in Puerto Rico, and I grew up there for a small time in a town called La Parguera. My mother is Panamanian, and my father is half Puerto Rican, half Ukrainian. I was very proud of those roots when I was growing up. That changed when I moved to Georgia and assimilation kicked in. That pride was constantly questioned, and I assimilated. I didn't really start exploring what it meant to be part of a diaspora until I went to undergrad. And in that exploration, I kept learning new and frustrating things about my cultures and where I come from and where I currently live. It led me down a rabbit hole, and I just kept on learning more and more things that were frustrating, things that didn't make sense. It was because of that I wanted to learn more. So much of the turmoil that I was reading about led back to specific places, people, and companies. It was like a crime scene conspiracy board, and it all kept leading back to one place, the place I now know as home. How did I not know about this? How did my friends and family go staying in the dark? I love history, and yet this is something that I was never taught. And with the state of the world today, visibility is at the forefront of any movement. Awareness and holding space becomes imperative to create change. That's what inspired me to talk about the topics in my art today. What is all of this that I'm referring to? At the center of all of this was a US fruit company. It has hired death squads to intimidate and kill workers, helped overthrow Guatemala's first democratically elected leader, and poisons its workers with a pesticide known as Bordeaux mix, which dyed the worker's skin blue. That company was Chiquita. Such a cute name in Spanish, meaning little girl. And the thing I thought they were most guilty of was caricaturizing Latinas. Little did I know that was of their more tame crimes. There's so much to dig into that unfortunately I won't get into all of it, but I'll cover the main points. What Chiquita caused was known as the Latin American Banana Wars. It became known as a culmination of corporate intervention, overreach, and colonialism. Dole is another company guilty of this. Dole and Chiquita became so notorious in the regions, they were known as El Pulpo, the octopus, because they had their hands in everything. This is just one representation of many interventions in Latin America that the US government let slip by and even participated in. One of many, many examples. The US has had its hands in Latin America for decades now, and far too much of it is blamed on someone else. I focus on the banana wars because it perfectly encapsulates the problem, and with a fruit that's so unintimidating, a fruit that's so connected to my culture, a food fed to babies, soft and unintimidating. There are so many victims of US intervention, and so much of it gets ignored, forgotten, or never even heard of. My research question throughout this series has been, how can my work reclaim space for discussion and acknowledgement for the often forgotten victims of intervention imperialism in Central and South American countries like Panama, Colombia, or Guatemala? Additionally, if the story of Latin America is of cycles of exploitation and revolution, how can the signs and symbols of exploitation be reappropriated in a revolutionary and artistic context? This work is the first iteration of this. It's called Manos de las Madres. Every banana on a grocery store shelf is a sister clone of itself, in a chain of hands of labor as interconnected as it is hidden from view. In my work, I examine the topic of exploitation and the mundane minutiae that shape a product that drives and oppresses the lives of millions. It can seem harmless and possibly even beautiful, as the bright red flower captivates one just long enough to forget how it will perish to propagate another muddy hand of bananas. The piece was made with a combination of soft and hard elements, quilted leaves with one side printed on and the other side velvet, soft satin for the flower with delicate beading, and hard elements being slip cast red clay and porcelain, copies of bananas. This dichotomy pushes a level of tension and weight into the piece as all sides pull and push each other. They create a landscape that tells a story of resistance. I think of plannings as guidelines to follow, something that's not rigid and very flexible for when things need to change, because they always do. My plans are an intuitive map. They help me stay in the right direction, and at the core of all of this planning is my research. I like to do this before, during, and after, and that comes through in audiobooks and endless video essays while I work. It helps me stay focused, and it creates an intentionality to my work that's almost meditative. Frogs are a key symbol of transformation, luck, and abundance in Panama and Puerto Rico. Both countries have frogs as their national animal. Panama has lottery tickets with the national frog, La Rana Dorada, and a national Golden Frog Day, April 14th. Puerto Rico just saw Bad Bunny use el sapo concho, an endemic species to Puerto Rico, for his most recent album that was about resistance and agency for the country. And that's not even to mention Puerto Rico's famous coquí. Because of this with frogs, they were something that I always felt connected to home and family. In my projects discussing the banana wars, poison dart frogs were always at the forefront of my mind. There are these little creatures that carry so much potent poison, and yet, if you cut them off from their natural habitat and diet, they no longer have that defense. They became a symbol that I wanted to use, a symbol of reclamation. In conjunction with the frogs, the banana became a symbol of exploitation that Chiquita brought. This same intentionality led me to focus on my leaves. It's so easy to forget the beauty of the cultures and land that I'm talking about, especially when the histories are so incredibly frustrating. That's why it's important that I can represent the vibrant landscapes and stories of these places I love. I create leaves that are inspired by the 7 indigenous tribes of Panama and their textiles. I also draw from beading practices in these tribes. This allows me to honor the culture that has become one of the first victims of companies like Chiquita. The weight of this symbolism doesn't go without the right context, and that's why I find the history and research in my planning are integral to my process. I make countless sketches and make notes about materials and different approaches I can use for them. I work with so much of a variety of materials. I spend also many, many hours watching videos or reading about these. This is such an important part of my process that I don't think I'll ever stop growing with it. I still feel like there's so much that I have to do, that I've only scratched the surface of my research and my artwork. but I plan on dedicating myself to continue to bring visibility to this ongoing injustice. Just 1 second. While we've recently had a bit of awareness grow over the years, the U.S. and companies like Chiquita continue chugging along, still profiting off of suffering. It is so important now more than ever to hold them accountable, and it starts with knowing what's happening. I plan to continue to shed light on issues like this and also highlight the beauty in the cultures and places that are here. If you want to learn more, feel free to talk to me about it. I could talk about bananas all day. Thank you for listening and learning.